What's up, Earth Rockers? It's your boy Shovatar back again very soon to talk about this next no damage run for Rondo of Blood. And this is Richter playing on the alternate mode. So there's going to be fewer cutscenes. There's not going to be like a boss rush cutscene, but you're going to see me rescue the other two maidens that you have to rescue in order to get 100% on a save file. Then you're going to see the rest of the levels, the rest of the bosses. And actually, before I talk about anything else about the alternate route in general, there's something that I want to talk about involving level 1 that I didn't get to in my last video, which is like the importance of what I call like physical markers for when you're supposed to do certain things. Like, for example, I know that when I jump right here, in like the alleyway between those two buildings, when I jump and throw the axe, that it will always hit that skeleton blaze when he pops out of the window. And I just wanted to bring that up because that's like really important in terms of like getting a consistent clear of a level like in your head, like getting it memorized, entails making sure that you have clear timings in your head of when you want to do certain things, when you want certain things to happen, to make sure that they always happen the same way every time. That's a very roundabout way of saying that doing something like that, deciding, okay, when I walk over this particular part of the level geometry, or when I hit this particular physical landmark that I can visibly see is redundant, that I can see, then that's when I'll do a certain thing. That's just a good way of making sure that you're always hitting enemies when you want to be, or make sure that you can always that you can do things consistently. So this boss is very random. His position is always different every single time you fight him. My strategy is to just whip on the first two and then spam some axes on him on the third one because he'll always stop and do the lightning breath on the third, or on the fourth, and then on the eighth emergence from the water. So there is some consistency in terms of like the attacks he does generally, but his position is different every single time. And that was a really great serpent kill. That was like exactly what I wanted. That was picture perfect. Maybe there's probably a way to do that faster. I don't really know. I don't know. I did watch some speedruns of this game, and speedruns do take this route, because the alternate route is generally faster than the main route. But I don't remember how exactly they handle that boss differently. So it's more so because the positioning is random, but the attack types are always the same. It's not that hard to no damage it. It's just kind of hard to it's just hard to get a good clean kill like that, which is what I wanted. So the reason I brought up the idea of like physical landmarks helping to sort of guide your actions in the level is because that's going to happen a lot here. There's going to be several times where I throw axes on specific, like right there, like when I reach that, like the goat skull or the ram skull, like in the center of the bridge, after like certain sections, that's when I jump and I throw the axe, and that just kind of makes sure that that I know when to do it every time, that I'm not relying on just kind of feeling it out. Because what's so important what's really important in no damage runs, especially in no damage runs that are that have random components to them, like some that have like unavoidable randomness, is that if you can control something, if you can get something down consistently, get it down as consistently as you possibly can. Like, don't leave anything up to chance. Don't just say, oh, I think I know when to throw the axe, I'll just kind of feel it out. No, give yourself a definite marker of when I walk over, the ram head on this particular section of bridge, that's when I'm going to throw the axe. Or when I walk in front of when I reach the alleyway in level 1, that's when I'm going to jump and throw the axe. Because, like, one of the many things that I've learned in recording these videos is that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. There's like some term for that, but I forget what it is. And there's going to be another example of that coming up here shortly, but what I want to talk about now is actually how annoying this part is. Because this section here is really like meant to be done with the holy water. The holy water makes this part a lot easier because you can just throw the holy water down on all of these spider things when they show up, instead of doing what I had to do back there, which was back up and then throw axes. And that item crash there is an example of what I mean when I talk about everything that can go wrong will go wrong, which is that, like, that last skeleton swordsman who jumps at you across that little pit. He's just fucked me up so many times that I was unwilling to leave any like question mark about how to react to him or whatever, and I have more hearts to spare in this. Well, actually, I have plenty of hearts to spare early on in this run. I'll talk more about hearts later. But basically, I had 10 hearts to spare. I was looking for item crashes I could use, and that was like an obvious spot, just because that was just the position you're in when he jumps at you is not really optimal, and it's a little bit it's pretty scary when he comes at you. But the reason I didn't pick up the holy water is because, number one, the axe is pretty good for this boss, and then the axe is really, really good for something that happens at the beginning of alternate level 3, which I'll get to shortly. So this boss is very he's tricky, but in terms of like comparing him to the werewolf, which is the main level 2 boss, he's definitely a lot easier, just because the werewolf, because he's hard, but his attacks have patterns. His attacks are like dodgeable. You can generally, like see what he's gonna do before he does it, and react to it correctly, almost like a normal boss fight. That was really close right there, and I could have item crashed there, but I think I had decided ahead of time that I wasn't going to do that. I was just going to go for it. If he gave me that movement pattern, I would just deal with it and try to get out from under him. So phase 3 of this guy is actually when he gets really dangerous, because fighting this like crab bone pile thing is tough, because like you can interrupt his momentum with whip swings, but then he also is gaining speed and gaining momentum as he moves. So past a certain point, you have to basically figure out, when am I going to stop whipping him, and then when am I going to jump over him to hit him the rest of the way, or to finish him off, rather. Because like what I did there was, like, I whipped him. I had like one round of whipping him when he was coming towards me, then I backflipped over him. Well, actually, technically I backflipped on top of him, and then because I was still moving back to the right while he was moving to the left, he just kind of like moved out from under me. So because of the momentum that I had and the momentum that he had, I didn't end up like clipping him, which is what can sometimes happen if you try to jump over him normally, is you can kind of like walk off of the edge of his body. There I waited for that bat to spawn, because I'd gotten fucked up by that before. I'd gotten used to doing this part on a certain timing, and so like there was a couple of runs that I lost because I just like wasn't expecting a bat to be there, and I decided that I would just play it ultra safe and just wait for the bat. Just stand still and wait for it to show up, then go forward and spawn that guy. And that kill with the axe is what I wanted. This is one of the things I wanted the axe for. Actually, no, that is the big thing that I wanted the axe for. And there actually is an axe you can get before that, but it involves taking a pretty significant detour, and also fucking with like the mudmen and the bats in that first section of Alternate 3 more than I was doing there. And I really don't like that part. The mudmen can sometimes just spawn like up underneath you, and like ambush you. It's just really, really annoying. So because the other option would be fighting the bone golem with the cross, and then using like a cross item crash to get through phase 3, which is what I was doing for a while, but eventually I realized that it would just be so much simpler if I could just kill him with the axe, because the axe would make phase 2 easier, it makes phase 1 a little bit faster, and then it makes killing the big purple ghost at the start of Alternate 3 easier. It means I don't have to fuck around with like the detour. There's like a hidden room you can drop into and get a bunch of different sub-weapons. I didn't want to fuck with that to pick up the axe to pick up the axe at the start of Alternate 3. I'd much rather just come in with it. And so I eventually did find a way to get through phase 3 without using any item crashes at all. And that was important, because in the early game I have some hearts to spare, but once I start getting into the mid game and then the late game, hearts are going to become pretty tight. And mostly that's because of Alternate 5, which I'll get to. And that's also why, unlike in my last video, I am going to use the Bible here, mostly for heart conservation purposes, because my hearts are a little bit more in demand in the alternate route. So here I clear out that turret with the axe, and then I go back down here to pick up the holy water, and I want the holy water here for the Alternate 3 boss, because like the Alternate 3 boss, it's this weird like eyeball monster called the Dogether, or Dogether, I don't know how the fuck it's pronounced, Dogether. And it's basically the alternate routes werewolf, where it's extremely random. and it's very easy to just get fucked up by it through no fault of your own. That's not a hit. This is still no damage. You don't take any damage when you land on that spike. It catapults you, but it doesn't actually hurt you, so this is still a no damage. I don't know if there's a way to avoid that on Richter. There's definitely you can avoid that on Maria, although it requires some pretty tight timing. But Richter, I don't know. So basically my plan here is to whip him a couple times at the start and then just spam item crashes to kill him, basically exactly what I was doing with the werewolf. And I have to use the Holy Water because there's not a cross available to me, and the Holy Water and the cross are the two items with the best item crashes that just do like screen-wide big damage. So, and as you can see there, I had 91 hearts, so if I hadn't item crashed in alternate 2 to kill that bone skeleton, I would have been like basically over like the heart limit. I would have been not making efficient use of my hearts. So I had room for another item crash in level 2, and that's the use that I found for it. But I've now expended 40 hearts to kill the Together, which is a lot, but it's also worth it because he is a big run killer otherwise. He's just, like I said, he's just very, very random, where he can teleport to different positions, he can do attacks in different orders, and then his attacks themselves can be either hard to dodge, which the green laser is, or they can themselves be very random, like the fire attack. So that was just the smart thing to do. And now I'm in my least favorite level in the entire game, Alternate 4, because that was not really what I meant to have happen there, but it worked out. I think usually my plan there was to whip the frog, and usually that's what happens, but there it just didn't pan out. So the reason I don't like alternate level 4 is because it's just a lot of annoyances. It's a lot of like little tiny frogs and birds and then like random skeletons dropping on top of your head. And then there's going to be a subterranean section that I'm going to go down into to rescue another lady, which is also going to have a lot of annoying random components to it. So this level is honestly not good. This is my least favorite part of the whole game. But it's not terrible. And the only reason it's like going to take as long as it is because I'm going out of my way to rescue these prisoners. I've only ever no damaged the alternate route on Richter once before. I've done the main route many times, but the alternate route I only did once. And when I did the alternate route, originally I wasn't rescuing any maidens because it was just on a 100% save file, and I was just kind of doing it without thinking about that. But rescuing this maiden specifically on alternate 4 makes it take a lot longer because you have to do this whole subterranean section. You have to do the part up earlier with the frogs on the bridges, and then you have to backtrack and do the alternate path to alternate 5 if you want to get to alternate 5, which I do because that's the point of this whole video, is to showcase everything that I didn't showcase in the first video. So that was another reason why I didn't just upload the footage that I already had of the no damages without rescuing the maidens, was because rescuing the maidens was, on the one hand, well, first of all, it just like shows you more of the game. It shows you the cutscenes, which I think is important. But also because it created some additional challenge. So it's kind of like, well, I did it without rescuing this lady, but what if I tried to do it with rescuing this lady? What would that be like? And alternate 4, because it was so random, was, I think, my biggest reset point. Like, just getting out of that room and, like, getting that rosary at the beginning, sometimes it just doesn't work out. The fishmen just jump out of nowhere and get at you. Yeah, alternate 4 was a big reset point, alternate 5 was a big reset point, and then the boss rush, of course, as it always is. But I don't remember which of those 3 necessarily was the biggest problem. There, I wanted to land on the log, but I accidentally barely hit the edge with the edge of my foot, the tip of my toe. I'm like looking back and forth because this part's really boring. This is another thing about alternate 4 that I hate. This whole raft ride thing, because it's boring, you're just kind of sitting here waiting, but it's also very stressful because you have to jump off of the log at a certain point in order to get to the rest of the level, but you don't have that much time to react, in my opinion. Like, a bird shows up holding a sign, and pretty much as soon as you see him, that's when you have to jump. And I also don't like the fact that it's making me throw axes at these fucking skeletons. Because, like, you can jump and whip to kill them sometimes, but the thing is that they're also, like, bouncing up and down on the river as you are, so they can just kind of, like, jump up and down and jump over your whip swings, which is very, very annoying. I pick up the cross here specifically to help clear out these bats, and these bats can just go fuck themselves until the end of time, because there are a couple of bat spawns on this part in particular that can happen that you just like can't do anything about because you're stuck on that floating platform over the water. If the bats spawn at a bad position on a bad timing, like you're just gonna get hit and there's nothing you can do about it. So that part sucks 100,000 dicks. but the rest is only kind of like moderately annoying. That part's really bad. And that's a big reason why Alternate 4 is the worst level in the game, in my opinion. Leads into a pretty cool boss fight, though. That, like, 4-whip opener for the boss fight was really, really tricky to do. I had to time the button presses really, really precisely. It wasn't something where I could just mash. But I really wanted to get it done, because if I don't hit her with 4 whip swings before the Holy Water item crash, she doesn't die to the item crash. And the boss just, like, takes longer, and it's not, like, it just doesn't look as cool. And so for this second phase, I want Laura to die over here on the left, because if she dies over on the right, then a lot of the hearts that she spawns tend to get stuck up on a wall that exists on the right side but not on the left side. And it's hard to describe and visually looks very strange, but basically the hearts will shoot up into the air and then like stick to the wall and not fall down. And because hearts are really, really important in this route, I want to make sure that I get as many of them as I can. So I make a point of killing her on the left for that reason. So stage 5, Alternate 5 has the best song in the entire game playing in it, but it's also just kind of an RNG like nightmare. It's not god awful. It's mostly just it's just this first part that's random, where the fishmen can sometimes just come out of the water and just fucking hit you. It's not super common, but it's possible. It's happened to me before. And it's just like, you know, maybe they were like, maybe they were under some kind of contractual obligation to make the game like not perfect, so they added some like fishmen who basically just exist to like troll you. And that's why I jump off of that lower ledge there whenever I see the fishmen, because sometimes they just belly flop out of the water onto that ledge, or like jump up underneath that ledge and fucking hit you, and it's really annoying. So I'm facing to the left here because the bats will spawn from the direction that you're facing, and I want to jump onto a platform to the right of me, but I don't want to jump into bats. So if I can spawn them on the left, that's what I want to do. And that part can get hairy. Sometimes you just happen to turn around and jump towards the platform on the timing when the game is checking to see which direction to spawn the bat from, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. But facing to the left like that is a good way to generally cover your bases and kind of maximize the chances of the bat not fucking with you when you do that particular section, which is important because that's like a big... because you're stuck there. You're stuck on a slowly moving platform. You can't dodge. You just have to intercept him with a whip swing, and if he's not coming at you on a timing you can predict, if he's not where you want him to be, then you're just fucked. This next part is very straightforward. At this point, there's basically no more RNG in the level. There's a little bit. But it's less like... it's RNG that you can mostly deal with and mostly respond to. The RNG at this point mostly just kind of comes down to how many item crashes am I going to have to use to get through this level. Because as you can see, I have 80 hearts, and I'm prepared to use 3 item crashes between now and the end of the level, or at least 2. Actually, probably 3. So basically, if these guys both line up attacks at the same time that I'm not comfortable dodging, like if they both do the shockwave attack at the same time or something, technically dodgeable but very hard to dodge, then I will item crash, and I'll just use the invulnerability from the item crash to not get hit by them. Fortunately, they took turns attacking, which I think is what they're supposed to do, so I didn't have to item crash to kill them. Which is good. It opens up an item crash that I can use in the last section of Alternate 5, which is very stressful and also a little bit random. It's not this section, this is the second to last section, and this is basically a test of, like, can you figure out how the eyeballs work? And I still don't know exactly how the eyeballs work, how they move when they move. I just know that generally doing this works for cleaning them up. And what I said in my tier list video was that in Rondo, the ability to jump in one direction and then turn and whip in the other is really important, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, because it lets you move to the left and still like be able to attack to the right and cover things that are happening behind you. So that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So what makes this last section of Alternate 5 tricky is the fact that the Medusa heads don't always spawn on a set timer. Like, you might notice there that last Medusa head that I whipped at the same time that I whipped the corner to get the 5 hearts spawned a little bit faster than the other ones had. So they generally spawn on a set, like, timer, but sometimes, like, right there again, they'll spawn a little bit faster than they did the last time. So they're not like 100% consistent. You're just gonna have to be ready for it. And there's my last item crash. This item crash is an absolute must. I just need to do it because trying to dodge the axes and dodge the Medusa heads at the same time is just way too fucking hard. It's just too much going on at the same time, so I have to item crash there. The 2 item crashes on the Spear Knights in the earlier section, the Spear Knights like poking down at you while the Medusa heads come at you, those are like basically optional. If I don't have to item crash on the Great Knights, then I'll item crash twice to clear out the Spear Knights. If I do have to item crash on the Great Knights, then I'll only item crash once. But every item crash on the Spear Knight Medusa head section is worth it, and it's good to do because it's just another potential point of failure that you've eliminated. You aren't gonna like accidentally try to run underneath the Spear Knight and then run into like a fast Medusa head spawn, which is the danger, which is what can happen. So unlike my previous video, I am gonna use the Bible. I'll be using the Bible for the rest of the whole game, right? Yeah. And so now you'll see a more conventional boss rush. I do most of the stuff here like the optimal way to do it, but some things don't quite go well. So optimally, you're supposed to kill the bat in 2 Bible usages, but here it just barely survives and I have to whip swing in order to finish it off, which gets the hearts closer to me, fortunately. And then this Medusa fight also doesn't really go the way that it should, although I don't exactly remember why. So this part, this is all supposed to happen. Okay, I think I see what went wrong. So the thing about Rondo Blood is that enemies can't, like, take damage from... They can't take, like, 2 hits at the same time. So what was happening there was I threw the Bible to hit the Medusa head, but I wasn't timing my whip swings between, like, the Bible damage ticks. I was swinging the whip at the same time that the Bible was ticking damage onto her. So the whip damage was, like, negated, basically, because she was already taking damage from the Bible. And that's just, like, a very, like, specific, like, timing issue. So here I do 8 whips, then I jump and I time the Bible to intercept the wrappings, then I do 6 whips on the floor, and that pretty much finishes it. The Frankenstein fight I could do with 0 item crashes, but because I knew that I had some to spare here, I use an item crash here that I don't use in the main route. Because like hearts are tight prior to this, but after this point, I'm not going to be like item crashing a million times on the Bat Bridge, for example. So there I can afford to use an item crash on Frankenstein. In the main route video, I really couldn't, or it wouldn't have been a good idea to. So the Shaft fight, it's possible to do a really fast Shaft kill with the Bible. You can actually kill Shaft before he summons his lightning orbs, but everything, like, pretty much has to go perfectly. And he gives me the good teleport, which gives me an opportunity to pull this off perfectly, but I don't quite close it out. What goes wrong is right there. I think I didn't realize... I just wasn't sure if I had hit him a 3rd time, because he has to get hit 3 times in order to teleport without doing anything else. And there, like, the Bible hit him once, and then, like, I hit him once, but I wasn't really, like... I wasn't sure if I'd triggered the 3rd hit. I wasn't sure if I'd, like, landed the 3rd hit to trigger the teleport there, so I wasn't exactly sure what he was going to do. And that's just, like, the question mark that often comes up in that fight. You can kill him before he summons his lightning orbs, but it's usually very, very hard to do. So there I end up having to play out the lightning orbs and then item crashing on the third lightning hit just to not have to dodge it, because I'm terrible at dodging them. When I said the boss rush was a reset point, I was talking almost entirely about Shaft. It was very rare that I would fuck up the boss rush on any of the other encounters. And for Shaft, it was almost entirely because of the lightning orb. Sometimes the fire orbs can do dumb shit. Like, they can, like, disappear into the floor and then come from off-screen and hit you, but usually it was the lightning orbs that were the problem. So that Shaft kill was not really very good. I'm not super happy with that, but oh well. And as you can see, this Bat Bridge is still not really like what you're supposed to do, or what's like optimal to do. What's optimal to do is to moonwalk the whole way and then use the whip to kill the bats, but I just can't like wrap my head around that. I don't know. I tried it, and I just couldn't figure it out, so... Just maintaining a forward pace and then spamming the Bible works out instead. The Bible does have to hit the bats twice to kill them, but it usually does that. It's very rare that, like, if you're, like, just jumping and spamming the Bible, you'll clear out the bats. They'll almost never, like, make it through. So, I don't know what went wrong there. I feel like that first axe should have done to the first harpy what I did to the second harpy, but it didn't for some reason. Which like didn't end up being a big deal because the first harpy is a lot easier to kill than the second harpy. But oh man, I don't kill this fucking water skull? Okay, I'm like really living life on the edge here. I probably should have stopped and whipped that skull. I don't know why I didn't. This is another like bad backflip. So the reason why this is like problematic is because if I backflip too early, then I won't get enough height on my jump, and I'll like basically backflip like through the ledge and then fall back down, which is not what I want because then I'm in danger of getting hit by the Medusa heads. But if I backflip too late, then like the game doesn't register the backflip because the way you backflip is jumping and then jumping again. So you have to do like a really late backflip to get up onto that last ledge, which is tricky. Hence why I was just like jumping up and down there for a little bit. I didn't really explain that adequately in my first Richter video, but that's why I'm doing two. So I have a chance to... Okay, that was pretty hairy, but I guess it worked out. I don't know why I'm playing this level 7 so, like, risky. I don't know if I was, like... I don't remember if I was, like, mad about the shaft kill being bad, or if I was, like... I don't know, but this is kind of not, like... I don't know why I'm playing like this. It's a very minor difference either way, but still every risk in this run is a big one. So there I throw the Bible underneath the torch. That way it always hits the skeleton monster, which is kind of the big threat. Those guys are really, really dangerous because their like neck extension attack goes farther than you think it does, and then if they live past that, they'll summon a huge volley of bones that's hard to deal with. The Bible would probably be good at clearing them out, but you never really know with the Bible. You never know what exactly the Bible's gonna... Well, you do know what exactly the Bible's gonna do, but Rondo blood, like, weird shit can happen. Sometimes things can just, like... Sometimes the Bible just doesn't hit things when you expect it to. That was the problem I encountered when I tried to use the Bible to deal with the Flea Riders in level 5 before the Grim Reaper, but then again, the Flea Riders are kind of uniquely evasive. Anyway, I'm going into this boss fight with the good sub-weapon to use for it, because in the last video that I posted, I fought this guy with the axe, and the axe was pretty good because it can hit shaft when he's like kind of out of your range, and then it can also clear out his bats. The Bible is even better because it can do both of those things at the same time. You can throw a Bible with the intent of having it clear out bats, and it'll usually hit shaft too. And it can clear out multiple bats, like, really easily. You don't have to, like, worry about it. But generally, it's the same fight. You actually can do... There's a kill that, like, speedrunners do, where they actually... you can, like, whip shaft back and forth, like, forever. If you get the timing correctly, you can, like, whip him, and then while he's in midair, you move over to the right, and then whip him again, and then he'll, like, land on top of your whip, and bounce back over to the left, and then you can kind of, like, bounce him back and forth, and he never gets a chance to do any attacks. I didn't go for that, because if I fuck it up, then he could end up landing on the right and getting off a Wyvern attack, which I don't want, because the Wyvern shoots out random fire patterns, and I don't want to deal with any randomness in this fight. I'd much rather just backflip over the behemoth, use the Bible to clear out the bats, just kill him slow, but slow but consistent, because consistency is king when you're just going for a no damage and not going for any kind of, like, speed run or anything like that. $48 hearts is pretty good. This should be more than enough to kill Dracula. So the reason the Bible is, like, optimal for killing Dracula is just because it can do, like, a ton of damage. Like, you'll see there that was, like, 3 Bible ticks and, I think, a whip swing, and that's the only time I pull that off, though. I think all the other times that I try to whip Dracula, I end up, like, overlapping the swing with The Bible hit, although there, like, a little spark showed up, but he didn't, like, take any damage, so I don't know what exactly happened there. Maybe I was too late? Or, like, he wasn't, like, damageable at that point? I don't know. But all the other times it seems like I'm kind of, like, overlapping the whip swing with the Bible pages, which is not good. But, oh well. Oh well. So, like with the Dracula fight in my last video, my plan here basically is to like make sure he's taking damage while he's jumping, because if he's taking damage while he's jumping, it like slows him down and makes it easier to like run out from under him. So there he ended up not taking any damage, but the Bible pages flying around still like kind of lagged him out a little bit. That was really fucking close. That is not what was supposed to happen. The problem, though, with like throwing the Bible preemptively, which is what you have to do if you want to hit him while he's jumping, is that if he doesn't jump and instead he does the fire breath, then he can end up like the Bible pages can be flying around while he's doing the fire breath, which fucks up his timing. So like when he shoots the 3 fireballs, you have to like jump over all of them if you're in the corner like that, but he'll like delay one of them if the Bible pages are like going through him and flying around while he's queuing up fireballs. So that's why that second fireball was so close, because I jumped too early, because I was expecting the timing that he shoots the fireballs when he's not like taking any damage and when nothing else is going on. So it was very, very close. But ultimately it worked out. I feel like I've said that several times. This whole run is actually kind of... I'm not super happy with it. I think my first run was actually better. By first run, I mean the run that I did, the one that I haven't uploaded, where it was just, like, no rescue maidens. That one is probably better, but this one has those cutscenes. This one I'm, like, doing more things. I'm showcasing more of the game, so this is the one that I'm uploading. Using the Bible on Dracula was kind of the last... I remember that when I was first, like, learning the no damage for Rondo of Blood, using the Bible on Dracula was, like, the last really important innovation that I figured out. Because it made Phase 1 faster, but the key thing was that it made Phase 2 consistent. Because in Phase 2, the timing for running under him when he jumps is just so tight. It's so easy to not make it. It's so easy to accidentally walk into his talon, or, like, be standing too close to him, or barely get clipped as he's coming down. And I just needed something to make it consistent, because I don't think I lost any runs to Dracula. I think I'd remember that. I think only once or twice did I ever lose a run past the boss rush when I was doing no damages. And that was in large part because I had figured out that Dracula strat. Which I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe I didn't explain it properly. I guess I'll do it again just in case. So, throwing the Bible while Dracula is jumping in Phase 2 basically slows him down in midair and gives you more time to run underneath him, which is what I needed. So that's why I was playing it like that. I fucked up towards the very end, actually, where he basically, like... He jumped one more time than I thought he would, but fortunately at that point he'd taken enough damage that he was ready to like slide back over to the left and then shoot his lightning attack, which is actually exactly the same thing that happened in the last video that I posted in the main route video. Dracula like cornered me and I was in a really bad position, but it just so happened that he was also at low enough health that he was ready to like go to the left side of the screen and then do that attack and basically like let me kill him. So that worked out. So yeah, not great footage, honestly, but still pretty good for what it is. Yeah, I had the better Camilla kill this time, and the first time I did this route I didn't have like that fast Camilla kill. I didn't have like my alternate 5 wasn't as cleaner. So yeah, this is fine. This is fine. And I don't know what the point is even of me talking about this, because I'm comparing this to footage that you guys are probably never going to see. But anyway, that's the alternate route. Definitely worse than the main route. Definitely more annoying. A lot more like RNG, like fishmen, and like frogs and skeletons and bats and shit. But still pretty neat. I think alternate 5 is kind of iconic because of how odd it is. Even though it is basically just cobbled together from a bunch of other assets from other levels, that's kind of what makes it distinct. And no boss fight is kind of a downer, but it's a really fucking hard level already, so having to fight like the Grim Reaper after Alternate 5 would just be insane, so I'm okay with it. I'm gonna bring this up because in Dracula X Chronicles they changed Alternate 5, and also because sometimes people like shit talk Alternate 5. I think Alternate 5's okay. And it has the best song in the whole game. Anyway, that's Rondo Blood for Richter. Next up, I'm going to be posting some videos where I do this on Maria, so keep your eyes peeled for those. And until that day comes, keep on Earth rocking.